Hello everybody, and welcome to my Spring Boot tutorial where I'm going to show you how to create a PDF generator in Spring. So before we get started, we first have to create our brand new Spring project, and in order to do that you're going to have to visit this URL, start.spring.io, and then you're going to be presented with this user interface where we can create our Spring project. So we're going to keep most of the default settings. We're going to keep the project type as Maven, the language is Java, the Spring Boot version is 2.4.4. Now, when you're watching this, the version might be different, so you just stick with the default one here, and it should be completely fine. Now let's see the project metadata. So I will keep the group as example here, common example, but I will change the artifact name to PDF generator. And then I will just change the description. I will say PDF generator. We will keep the packaging as jar, the Java version is 11. That's going to be fine. You want to choose the Java version that you have installed on your machine. I currently have Java 11, so I will keep Java 11. And then we are going to add a dependency. Only one dependency we're going to need for this project. We're going to add the Spring Web dependency. So that's going to be completely fine. So this is all we need for this project. And then you're going to click on the generate. After that, you're going to be presented with a file, a zip file that you have to save, and then you have to just extract the file and open it with IntelliJ. I'm going to be using, yes, as the editor, as the IDE, I'm going to be using IntelliJ. And I prefer to use IntelliJ, and I would suggest you use IntelliJ because it is made very well for Java programming. So you're going to click save, you're going to unzip it, and you can open it with IntelliJ. And after you open it with IntelliJ, you're going to be presented with this screen. So you're just going to have an empty project with almost nothing in it. There's going to be the main class, the entry point of the application, but that's going to be it. So let's get back to the project right now. We want to create a PDF generator. In order to create a PDF generator, I would like to have some sort of service that's going to generate the PDF. And the best way to do that is to put that service in a package, named service, let's say. And we're gonna put the service in this package. So I'm gonna create the package service, and then I'm probably gonna want to have another package, and that package is gonna be controller. That's where our testing controller will be. So let's create those two packages. So we have service and we have controller. So I would like to start with the service first, but before we start with anything, we first have to add one more dependency to our project, and that's going to be the actual dependency that's going to be capable to generate the PDF. So how do we add dependencies to our Spring Boot project? We want to open the pom.xml file. Because we are using a Maven project, we're going to have a pom.xml file where we can manage our dependencies. And as you can see here, you're going to see tags that's going to say dependencies, and you're going to see a list of dependencies in here. We already have two dependencies, the Spring Boot Starter Web that we chose on the Spring Initializer, and there's the Spring Boot Starter Test. Now we need to add one more here, and I'm just going to copy paste it right now, and it's right here. This is the dependency that we have to add. So it's com.github.lib.pdf, open PDF, and this version. After we've added this in the pom.xml file, this thing's going to show up here, this M here, and we have to click it right here in order to load the Maven changes. If for some reason that doesn't show up, you can always get here in the Maven menu and click the reload here, and that's going to reload the project. After we've added the dependency, we can start coding. So let's get back to our service package. And let's create a Java class. I'm going to create a Java class, and I'm going to name it PDF Generator Service. Okay. So now, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to annotate this class with the service annotation. This is really important to do because this is how we tell Spring that we would like this class to be created into a bin, and then that bin can be injected into our controller and we can use it. So it's really important not to miss out on the service annotation because that's really, really important. And then we're gonna have only one method here. So the idea is to have one method that's gonna generate the PDF. And I'm gonna have only one method in here. So the method is gonna be public void, and I'm gonna call it export. And so how this is gonna work, in the export method, we are gonna get the HTTP servlet response. And I'm gonna name it response, here the variable name. And we're gonna get the servlet response. That's gonna be the HTTP response that we wanna give back to the user. We're gonna stick a document, or let's say we're gonna attach a document to the response, and we're gonna give the response back to the user. So in order to, and I'm gonna show you how to do that. So that's gonna be the next step. So, but firstly, what we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to create the document. And in order to create the document, we're gonna use the document class. Now, it's really important to import the right one, because as you can see here, we have two interfaces of a document, and we have a class of a document. What we want is we want this third one, com.lovaji.text. That's the one we want. So you want to choose that one. That's really important, because if you import a wrong class or a wrong interface, it's probably not going to work, and it's probably going to be different. So you really want to import the com.lovaji.text. Then I'm going to name the variable document, and I'm going to create a new document. So I'm going to create a new document, and here we can specify the size of the document with an enum. So I'm going to choose page size.a4, like a standard size. And that's going to be our document. So now what do we want to do? Now we want to see, now we're going to get to use the actual response. So I'm going to use another class right now, PDF Writer. So this comes from the lovaji.text.pdf.pdf writer. You want to get an instance, and now this is going to take two parameters. Firstly is the document that we want to assign, or we want to put, and then we want to say where do we want to write that PDF. So in this case, that's going to be to the response, and that's going to be to the output stream of the response. Now, what just happened here? So we are saying we're going to be giving you this document, and we would like you to write it to this output stream right here. That's what we want to happen. So get this document and write it to this output stream of the response. And as you can see, we have a squiggly red line down here. That's because the get output stream throws an exception. And if we get closer here, it's going to say unhandled exception, Java IO exception. For now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the method signature. So I'm going to say that it throws an exception. And an easy way to do that is if you say Alt-Enter. And as you can see, it's going to say add exception to method signature. So that's exactly what I'm going to do right now. So now what we can do. Now, since we have this document, we can open the document. Now, after I open the document, I can work with the document. Now, what can we do with it? We can do quite a lot with the document, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a title, and I'm going to add one paragraph just for testing purposes. So first, I want to choose a font. So in order to choose a font, we have a font class. I'm going to say font, and right again, you want to choose the one that's from com.lovaji.text. That's the one we want. Now I'm going to choose a font, and I'm going to say this is going to be font title. Let's say this is going to be font for the title. And I'm going to use the font factory. To get that font, to get a font that I would actually like to use. And let's say that we're going to use font factory dot. Let's use Helvetica Bold. That's going to be a good title font for now. And let's set the size of this font. Set size, so we can set the size. And let's set it to 18. Okay, that's perfect. Now let's create a paragraph. And also you want to import it from the com.lovaji.text. I'm going to create a paragraph here, and I'm going to say that's going to be a new paragraph, and this takes two parameters. First is the text that we want to be displayed, and I'm going to say this is a title, and then it takes the font or the font style that you've defined before, and I'm going to use the one that we defined here. Okay, so that's how a paragraph works. And then we can set the alignment. We can say p.set alignment. And we can say paragraph dot align center. Let's say, because we want it in the center, it's title, right? So that's going to be our title. Now we can actually put another paragraph here. So, but before we put another paragraph, let's create another font for our paragraph. So I'm going to call it font paragraph. And I'm going to say font factory dot get font. So the same thing, we're getting a font. And this time, let's not get the bold one. Let's just get the regular version. So let's get the font factory dot Helvetica, but the regular version. And that's perfect. Okay. So let's also set the font size here. So font paragraph dot set size. Let's set it to 12. That's going to be perfectly fine. Okay, and let's then create another paragraph. I'm going to call it paragraph 2, let's say. And I'll call new paragraph, and I'll call this is a paragraph. So this is the text that's going to be displayed. And then we just specify the font that we want to use. And I want to use the second font that I just defined above. And I'm just going to set the alignment. Set alignment. And let's set it to paragraph dot align left. That's going to be right, I guess. So this is going to align our paragraph to the left, which is, I guess, pretty good. Okay, so now we have just a couple of more steps in order to, to be able to do this. So now, since we created two paragraphs, one as a title and another as a paragraph, we have to add those paragraphs to the actual document. So we have to reference the document. We've opened the document. Now we have to reference it here. Document.add, and I'm going to firstly add the first paragraph. Okay, it's not P, it's paragraph. And then I'm going to use document.add, and I'm going to add the second paragraph. And then I'm going to close the document. And that's going to be our service. So what's going to happen? We're going to have a title. We're going to have another paragraph below. We're going to add those to the document, and we're going to close the document. And all this is going to get written to the output stream of the response. So that's our service. Quite simple, but obviously you can make it quite complicated, and you can really generate a PDF for your needs. So that's the important part here, that you don't have to do it like this. You can definitely, the idea of this is to customize it by yourself and make it for your needs, or make it sufficient for your needs. So that's going to be our service. Now we have to test this service somehow, right? And the best way to test this service is to create a test controller. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the controller package, and I'm going to create a new Java class that's going to be PDF export controller. Let's say like that. PDF export controller. I'm going to create that class, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to annotate it with controller. After I have it annotated like that, firstly, what we're going to need here, in this class, we are going to have to use the service that we just wrote here. So in order to do that, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to inject the service. We're going to have to use dependency injection to inject the service. And a nice way to do that is using the constructor dependency injection in Spring. So firstly, I'm going to initialize a field that's going to keep our bin. So I'm going to say PDF generator service. PDF generator service. And then IntelliJ is clever enough to see that we actually probably want to inject this bin. So it's going to suggest us that we add a constructor parameter. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. So all I did here is Alt-Enter, and I'm going to say add constructor parameter. This is going to look for usages, and it will add the constructor parameter right here. And with this, we've accomplished the dependency injection. So what's going to happen is when the application runs, Spring's going to scan the service annotation, and it's going to say, okay, I need to make a bin out of this class. is going to make a bin, and bin is just an object of this class. And then we're going to inject that object right in here into this constructor-based injection here. And then we can use it, we can use the service. So let's create a test get mapping here. Get mapping. And I'm going to map it to PDF/generate. And this is going to be a public void generate, let's call it generate PDF. Now what I want to do here, I want to get the HTTP servlet response. This is going to get injected here. And we can use it. So this is going to be the servlet response that we return to each client. And what we would like to return? Well, we would like to attach a PDF to this response. And I'm going to show you how to do that right now. So the first thing that we have to do, let me just change the name here. Let's make it a little shorter like this response. So firstly, we want to set the header, or the content type, let's say. Set content type. And I'm going to say it's going to be application/PDF. That's the first thing. Later, I'm going to be creating the file name. So now a most common way for generated PDFs is to have some sort of date and time in the file name. So that's exactly what we're going to do here. We're going to get the current time, and that's how we're going to name our file. So I'm going to use a date format, and I'm going to call it date formatter. But let me just import the right class here. So let me get here, Alt Enter, import class. And I'm gonna create a new simple date format. And simple date format gets a pattern. So how would you like your date and time to look like? And I'm gonna choose this pattern here. So I'm gonna use for the year, and then I'm gonna use for the month, for the day, and then I'm gonna have the minute. And I guess that's gonna be pretty fine, yeah. Yeah, this is gonna be, I guess, kind of fine. So we're gonna get kind of a good representation of our PDF. And let's add actually the hours here. So not like that, but probably like that. And that's gonna add hours here. So let's actually run it like that. Okay, so this is gonna be pretty good. Now I'm just gonna do that. So this should give us a simple date format like that, with the year, the month, the day, the hour, the minute, and the second. Now the next thing that we're gonna do is we have to get the current time. So you have to do string current date time equals date formatter dot format, and I'm just gonna say new date. New date is gonna get a new current date from the time now. And then we have to do just two things. So now we have the file name, we're gonna include the current date time, but we would have to set a header to our response. And that header is gonna be the content disposition header. So I'm first gonna say header key, and the key is content disposition. This header tells the browser what kind of file we're returning. And in this case, I'm going to specify that we're going to be returning in the value, in the header value, I'm going to specify that we're going to be returning an attachment. And the file name, we want to specify the file name is going to be, and I'm going to say PDF, let's say, and I'm going to put like a, I'm just going to say PDF, and then I'm going to say plus, and I'm going to get the current date time, and I'm just going to add the extension at the end, PDF, like that. So this is how the file name is going to end up, PDF plus the current time plus the PDF extension. And it should be pretty fine like this, yes. So now we're ready to set this header to the response. Response.set header, header key, and header value. So what this is going to do, this is going to set this header, the content disposition header, to the response. So the browser knows what it's getting sent back. So what we're giving to the browser, we're giving an attachment, and this is going to be the file name of the attachment. And then all we have to do is just call the method export that we've just created before on this service. So let me, okay, let's just do that. Let's just do exactly that. This.pdf generate service dot export, and I'm just going to pass the response. And that's all we have to do. And I would just have an exception here. I'm just going to add it to the method signature. And that's going to be completely fine. So now we're ready to test our application. In order to test our application, I first have to run it. And in order to run it for the first time, you have to get to the main class and click this play button here and click run. Now I'm going to run it right now. And we're going to wait for it to build. And let me open the browser while we're waiting to build, and I'll wait for the browser. And let's see, so it can take a little while. If it's building for the first time, it can take a little while, but it shouldn't take too long. And let's see. So we're gonna wait for it to build. I guess it's built, so now it's gonna run. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna have to go to this mapping right here, PDF generate. So I'm gonna copy this. So the port is going to be 8080. That's the standard Spring Boot port. It's going to be configured on 8080. So I'm going to go to the 8080 right here. So I'm going to go to the 8080 and I'm going to go to the, I'm going to paste the route PDF generate. I'm going to click enter here. And what's going to happen? We're going to get presented with a file. We're going to present it with a PDF. So as you can see, there's the name, PDF, there's the year, there's the month, there's the file name, and the extension is PDF. I'm going to save it in this folder right here. And if I open this PDF right now, as you can see, is exactly what we wrote in the export function. So we have a title, and we have a paragraph. The title is centered, it's bold, the size is 18. This one is not centered, it's aligned to the left. The size is not 18, I think it was 12, right? Yes, and it's exactly what we wrote here. So our PDF generator does work, and it works really well. So you can of course now customize the PDF and do it as you need to do it. And that's gonna be it for this tutorial. Thanks for watching, and see you until next time.